Hey everybody, it's Mr. Cotter. We're going to go over important course procedures for the second quarter of this school year. I'm going to discuss the topics that you see there. At the end of this presentation, there will be a quiz. You need 100% to pass. You will have unlimited attempts, but you're going to want to pass it the first time. That's going to take you the least amount of time, so pay attention. If you need to contact me, you can reach me from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on weekdays. If you contact me outside of that time, I will get back to you as early as I can during my work hours. If you have math questions or you need clarification on an assignment, like what numbers should we do, use Teams chat and I can respond right away. If you need an immediate response, don't use email. If you have a question about your grade, which is basically never urgent, please use email. That way I don't lose track of it. In my classroom, and this is written on the board, make sure you're wearing a mask, maintaining distance. Don't touch anybody. Don't eat or drink in my classroom unless you have a straw. You should not be taking your mask off to eat or drink. Make sure you're wiping your desk down at the end of class. And keep in mind that the windows will be open, so dress warm. General classroom issues. You can always leave class if you have personal business. I will never tell you you can't use the bathroom. You can use your phone in class for academic purposes. I'm also not going to be policing phone use, so you have to make good choices. If you're in class, you don't need to be on the Teams meeting in general. If there's a change to that, I'll give you a heads up. A couple of minor adjustments for the second quarter. All the point values have been doubled. So instead of homework assignments being worth 5, now they're worth 10. A longer assignment, instead of being worth 10, now it's worth 20. Quizzes go from 25 to 50 points. Tests go from 50 to 100 points. Functionally, it works out to about the same thing, well, exactly the same thing. But I want to have a little bit more flexibility to give you a 9 out of 10 instead of a 4.5 out of 5, okay? I also want you to know that quizzes and tests will be worth more this quarter. In the first quarter, classwork and homework were by far the majority of your grade. In the second quarter, now that we've had the opportunity to get comfortable with this distance learning procedure, classwork and homework will only be worth 40 to 50% of your grade. That's still more than most other classes in the math department, but I think it's a little bit more appropriate given that the purpose of the class is for you to learn the material. Revision work policy. It's a little bit complicated, so I'm just going over it again, but it hasn't changed. You're going to get 3 revision tokens each quarter, so that reset for the second quarter. These are opportunities to correct low scores. I don't take late work unless you spend a revision token. You don't get half credit for late work in an unlimited way. Every late work is going to cost you a revision token. It's not worth it to use them on late work. Do your work on time, okay? Similarly, you have 1 attempt at each quiz or test. You can spend a revision token to retake it or to submit corrections. In the first quarter, we just did corrections. Depending on how it goes in the second quarter, we might do retakes. That will be specified per assignment. Revision tokens are not free grades. You still have to do the work. You still have to submit corrections. You would have to retake a quiz or a test if that's specified. The grade after a revision token is capped at 80%. Revision work has to be completed within a week of receiving your grade. That was not enforced in the first quarter. It will be in the second quarter now that we're all adjusted to the procedure, me at John Carroll and you guys for distance learning. If you don't use any of those revision tokens, they're going to add 1% to your quarter grade after final grades are calculated. Assignments. We already have a routine here. Each class is going to have a classwork component and a homework component. You're going to submit them together. If I put homework questions on the board, they're still part of your assignment. You still have to write them down. If they're missing, you're going to lose points. Assignments are due on the next class day at 8 a.m. This will be specified on Veracross. If you don't have it in by 8 a.m. and I start grading at 8:01, it's going to be marked late, and you're either going to have to take that grade or use a revision token. Make sure you're following the guidelines for free response submissions, which basically everyone is, which are on the resources page of the content library. The summary is take a picture, a good picture of each page, one picture per page, and put it into the OneNote assignment page that is distributed to you. Tests and quizzes. Assessments are timed and need to be submitted by the end of the period. I don't give extra time on quizzes and tests without documentation from the school, so factor that in. You can't pause a quiz and then return after school to finish it. It's not a homework assignment. Please be sure to read all instructions on a quiz or a test. Here's some questions I get quite a bit. Why did I get this grade? I always write it in OneNote, okay? So if it doesn't say anything, you got 100, you probably wouldn't be asking, right? Otherwise, go to that OneNote assignment, the place where you submitted it, and it will say at the top why you didn't get full credit, if it's a homework or a classwork. And if it's an assessment, I'm going to go through like any other teacher, and I'm going to mark up the questions that you lost points on. If you're not sure why you lost the points, usually I go over it in class, but if you missed that, or you still don't understand, then it's perfectly okay to contact me, but please check OneNote, okay? If you're absent, do you need to make up classwork and homework? Yes, you do. Another question I get, when is this assignment due? The due dates are posted at Veracross. I have kind of figured out the schedule, so I think it's usually pretty accurate now to when you have skip days. But if there's an error there, for whatever reason, it's due at 8 a.m. on the next class day. I will never ask you to do an assignment on skip days or weekends. We may end up doing asynchronous assignments due like at the end of the day, Friday, but never on a day that you don't have class and never on a Saturday or a Sunday. Another question I get a lot is, when are you going to put in my revision work? I will put in your revision work. This is one area where I'm deprioritizing those grades because my regular lesson planning and grading will take priority. That goes double for late work, right? You turning in your work late does not mean that I have a new deadline, right? If you want your work graded quickly, get it in on time. Last one here. If I'm not happy with my grade, can I do something extra to increase it? I get this question a lot at the end of the quarter. The answer is no. I already have a pretty generous revision system where you can redo just about anything, but you can't redo everything, okay? So if you want to maintain your grade, you got to keep an eye on it and make sure that if you get a low grade on something, that you're following up and using your retake opportunities appropriately. I don't go back a month to allow revisions. You have 1 week to get them in, so you have to be attentive to your grade and what you need to do to maximize it. So you have a quiz. The link for the quiz is going to be posted to OneNote, Veracross, and Microsoft Teams. You have unlimited chances to take the quiz. You have to get 100%. If you don't get a question correct, it's going to explain why at the end of the quiz. So most of you will only need to do the quiz twice to get your 100. If you don't get 100, it's going in as a 0. There's 15 questions. If you get 14 out of 15, it goes in as a 0, okay? You have to retake the quiz until you get 100%. And then, it's basically a free 15 out of 15, okay? There's 15 questions on the quiz. Get them all, you get 15 out of 15. So I hope that this exercise is helpful for you in understanding how I run my classroom, and that way we can proceed and all be on the same page. If you have any questions, as usual, you can let me know. Hope you have a great weekend.